Good morning, everyone. This week's Torah portion discusses the exiles of the Jewish people that we will have to endure, which tragically we have endured throughout history, the persecutions, the oppression. However, at the conclusion, there's a very uplifting verse where God says, despite everything that happens to the Jewish people, I will never break my covenant with them. I will always remember my covenant with their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this is a prediction which has been fulfilled. On the one hand, we've gone through the worst oppressions and persecutions ever in human history as a Jewish nation. On the other hand, the unbreakable bond between God and the Jewish people is manifested in the fact that the Jewish people is the only nation, despite all the powerful armies that have come up against us, which have all long been gone. The Babylonians, the Romans, the Egyptians, the Persians, the Greeks. But the Jewish people, the tiny little Jewish nation, live on. And that's because in this verse, God says, I will never forsake you. I will never abandon you. I'll always maintain my covenant with you. And God says, I'll remember the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But our rabbis say that it's not just a covenant that was made 3,800 years ago. It's a covenant that lives on today. Why? Because the same traits of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob are manifested till today in the Jewish people. Abraham was renowned for his loving kindness, for his generosity. He had a tent with 4 doors. And this is once again seen in the Jewish people, as the Jewish people are renowned for their generosity, for their philanthropy. Jews support all the different causes. You can't walk into a hospital, a museum, a university without seeing Jewish names prominently featured, even though we're only 2% of the American population and 0.25% of the worldwide population. That's the trait of Abraham as still visible amongst the Jewish people. Do the nations of the world recognize it? Do they appreciate it? No. The most famous anti-Semitic slur is that Jews are cheap. He Jewed me down. So God says, don't worry, I remember the trait of Abraham. When it comes to Isaac, Isaac was the one who went on the altar, self-sacrifice. Jews throughout the ages have shown tremendous faith and loyalty and devotion and sacrifice to God. But once again, the world denies it. Holocaust, revisionist, denial. And then when it comes to Jacob, Jacob was a man of Torah, of knowledge, of scholarship. We know that Jews have won 30% of the Nobel Prizes, despite being 0.25% of the world's population. Once again, Albert Einstein, the greatest man of the 20th century, a Jew, said that if my theory of relativity proves true, then the Germans will say I'm German and the French will say I'm a citizen of the world. But if it proves untrue, then France will say I'm a German and the Germans will say I'm a Jew. So God says, despite whether the world recognizes it or appreciates it, I remember it. And the most important thing is for you to know that you carry within you the genes, the physical and spiritual genes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and these 3 great traits of kindness, the traits of selfless devotion and sacrifice to God, and the trait of scholarship and knowledge. And therefore, as a Jew, always hold your head high and proud, despite what the world may say. Always realize who you are, who you're a descendant of, and live your life as a continuation of their great legacy. They tell a story about a boy who was once drowning in the ocean, and a man jumped in and saved him. When he rescued him, the boy said, how can I repay you? How can I thank you? What could I do? And the man looked at the boy and said, what you can do for me is live a life that was worth saving. When we remember who our ancestors were, our patriarchs, our matriarchs, their greatness, their devotion to God, to the world, and what they've done and what they've contributed, then we will realize that they did all of that and sacrificed all of that so we could be the ones to receive those gifts. And we have to be worthy of maintaining, sustaining, and perpetuating these traits of kindness, selfless devotion, and scholarship. Have a wonderful day.